Louis and B.B. Barron created a soundtrack that was like no other soundtrack that had ever existed before. And they invented electronic music that you know today.
There were not even half a dozen people who were doing electronic music at that point, and there wasn't any commercial equipment, so Louis had to build everything.
They had a lot of oscillators. Those are electronic circuits which generate tones and tonalities. It's the precursor to the music synthesizer.
They were kids with these pieces of equipment, and good Lord, I mean, it's a classic score.
So originally the thought was they were going to do what amounted to sound effects, and somebody else would do the score overall.
It took us about 8 months to just do the raw sounds of Forbidden Planet. Believe it or not, they loved what we came up with and gave us the whole film to score.
The fact that a major studio would make the decision on their big spectacle science fiction movie to put this weird music, you can't realize what that was like in the 50s.
It was difficult. It was a very hard way to make music. It took us forever to do anything.
It was sort of like an impromptu work because they had so many loops going. They had vacuum tubes. It was a truly experimental score, and I've heard nothing like it in any movie.
Certainly the strongest part of the movie for me is the sounds of the id monster. It was terrifying to hear that when I was a child. Your imagination was fueled by the sound of that creature.
Joe, what? Do you hear something?
Like what?
Like a sort of big breathing.
When you hear that, those boom boom starting with the id and stuff, man, it was chilling.
I mean, people shivered in fright, and people would come up and say to us, your music for the id sounds just like dreams that I have all the time, and it was like they're subconscious. So that's, of course, what we like best to hear. You're expressing our subconscious.
The genius of the score is the fact that the score plays as music and sound effects at the same time, and they carry a mood and tone every bit as much as if it was a full orchestra.
Unfortunately, we had to contend with the musicians' union.
This was the only feature film released from a studio that had a score that involved no musicians.
Since they weren't using traditional instruments, they couldn't take the credit of being musicians, so they made them take a credit of electronic tonalities. It prevented them from being even nominated for an Academy Award.